Hi, welcome to Cooking with Chris. I'm Chris Kendle, Family and Consumer Sciences Extension Educator for Ohio State University Extension and Tuscarawas County. And tonight I'm going to be making a blackened chicken with a pineapple cucumber salsa. And so I'm excited to share this dish with you. Before we get started though, I'm going to head over, I'm going to wash my hands and anticipate that you'll be washing your hands too. Okay, now that we're back from washing our hands, got those hands all clean, let's talk a little bit about the ingredients that we're going to use in our recipe tonight. And really, it's a matter of making an herb rub. It is a little spicy, so if you want to back off on some of the spice, you can certainly do that. Then we're going to put it on our chicken. So we have about 2 pounds of chicken right here, and then we're going to get it into the skillet. So that's essentially, it's a very simple recipe, other than getting this herb rub together. So let's talk about what's in the rub. So we're going to start with some brown sugar. So we have a tablespoon of packed brown sugar. Then we have 2 teaspoons of our ground coriander. We have 1.5 teaspoons of our ground ginger. We have 1.5 teaspoons of garlic powder, 3/4 teaspoon of cayenne pepper. I got ahead of myself. 3/4 teaspoon of ground allspice, and now our cayenne pepper, 1/2 teaspoon of cayenne pepper. If you don't like it to be really spicy, you might want to back off on this one a little bit because that adds a little heat to it. Then we have our 1 teaspoon right over here, 1 teaspoon of salt, and a 3/4 teaspoon of black pepper. So I'm going to put all of those together, and I'm going to make our rub. And I'm just real easy here. I'm going to go ahead and put them all into my bowl. And I'm going to mix them up. Now, certainly at home, I wouldn't expect that you'd put them all into separate bowls to make your rub. You would probably just pour them right into a common bowl. So just a reminder, whenever you're measuring out those spices, you do want to make sure that you measure them over a separate bowl and then pour them into the bowl that you're going to be using to actually mix your spices. That way, if you have any measuring errors, then you don't have that affecting your final product. I've seen where people have been measuring, like for example, salt, and they've gotten way more salt in there because, whoops, that salt came out too fast, much faster than they expected, and so then they had a lot of salt in their product. So now that I have all of those spices blended together, and you might need to use a fork to get some of those chunks broken up, particularly with that brown sugar. So I have it all blended together, and next I'm going to turn my attention to my chicken breasts. Now these are boneless, skinless chicken breasts, and since I knew I was making this, I really made an effort to try and get them fairly uniform in size and evenness across them. If you have chicken breasts that are really meaty and quite thick, particularly if they're thicker at one end than at the other end, then you might need to use a meat tenderizer and pound them down a little bit so that you get them a nice, even, consistent shape across the chicken breast. Now I should mention too that I went ahead and I'm going to use a cast iron skillet for this, and so I put the cast iron skillet in my oven to preheat, just kind of a quick step that I do when I'm using that cast iron skillet so that that's getting nice and warm in the oven. I preheat that to 500 in the oven, and then it's ready to go when I want to put whatever I'm cooking into that cast iron skillet. So with chicken, people used to say that you needed to wash the chicken, and that is not a recommended food safety practice. In fact, we strongly discourage that you wash the chicken. Some people say, well, it's kind of like has a little bit of stickiness or whatnot when I open the package. Trust me, when you cook that, it will no longer be sticky. Now, what you want to watch for though is like if you can press your finger in it and it makes an indent that forms and stays, and that's not a good piece of chicken. But if it's just kind of has a little tackiness to it, then that is perfectly fine. So I'm going to take my rub here, and I'm going to put that here on my chicken, try and kind of distribute that evenly. And this is one where you're going to definitely be hands-on. And I'm not going to keep any of this rub. I'm going to use all of it, and I'm going to make sure that I get this packed into my chicken breast. Now, if I was making this for friends, or if I was making this for a program where I was going to be serving it to folks, I would definitely have gloves on my hands. Since I'm just making it for here at home, I'm going to go ahead and just use my bare hands to kind of pat that rub right into the chicken. And so this is probably one of the more time-consuming parts of this whole recipe, is getting this rub packed in nice and evenly across here. And then I'm actually going to turn this over, and I'm going to try and capture some of that rub. Turn this over, and I'm going to do the other side as well here. So just a little bit here on both sides, and I'm going to do that with all 6 chicken breasts. So we have that rub applied nice and evenly to all of the chicken breasts, and after dealing with the chicken, washing hands. So it's really important to keep washing your hands every time we touch this chicken. It does potentially have salmonella, a foodborne illness, potentially, and so with chicken we want to handle it very carefully, and again, make sure that we're washing our hands after we pat that rub into the chicken. Our next step is that we're going to get that skillet out of the oven and start cooking. So here we are at the stove top with our hot skillet, and I'm going to add a little bit of olive oil, and I'm going to put this on a medium-high heat. This is going to make some smoke when I put this in here, a little bit of, potentially, a little bit of smoke in there. And then I'm going to use my tongs, ooh, let me get a sizzle, and place my chicken breasts nice and evenly around the skillet here. I'm going to let them cook on this first side for about 3 minutes, and then I'm going to flip them over and let them cook about another 3 minutes. We're going to test the doneness with a thermometer. The chicken should be cooked to a minimum internal temperature of 165. So we'll come back here in a few minutes and check on our chicken and see how we're progressing. So here we are back at the stove top, ready to flip our chicken after our 3 minutes. And oh, it's getting a nice crisping to it here. And smells delicious. Hopefully, if you're making it here at home with me, you're enjoying a lovely smell as well. So we're going to let that cook for another 3 minutes on this side. Now do notice that I switched out my tongs. So I had different tongs that I used to put the raw chicken into the skillet, and now with my chicken cooking, I'm using a different set of tongs, and so it's another food safety measure that we want to keep in mind whenever we're dealing with chicken and other raw meats. So again, we'll see you back here in about 3 minutes, and we'll take another look at this chicken. And here we are back at our stove top, and we've had a little more time on side 2, so I'm going to flip these again. Now I did turn my chicken down a little bit, and that rub's looking really delightful on there. I'm going to check and just see where we are on our temperature. And again, I said we want it to be at 165. Not quite there. I'm going to check a few of them, and you do want to make sure that you check in the thickest part of that meat. I might need to rotate my position a little bit. I have this one's at about 170, so it's done, but this one's only about 144, so I am going to move them in the skillet a little bit so I can get some more heat to some of these and less heat to some others. So you might have to do that on your stovetop at home as well. Here we are back over for hopefully a final temperature check on our chicken. I'm going to clean off my thermometer there, and this was our one that was a little low, and so we're looking better on that. And again, we want to have that minimum internal temperature of 165, and so we're right at that 165. We're going to enjoy these with that pineapple cucumber salsa, and it's also a great complement if you have some rice or you have a quinoa to go with it. Wow, it just makes an excellent complement altogether. So we hope that you've enjoyed cooking with us today.